Hey, what's going on, everyone? We're here to do the day after where we've cooled off. We've had a little bit of self reflection. No, probably not, but we've had a moment to kind of process, look at other people's opinions, rethink about some of the stuff that we said, and kind of really just commentate on some of the stuff that we thought initially and some of the stuff, that we rethought, and if we have any new tidbits, as well as covering some of the aftermath of last night's match. And joined with me is my co-host and partner, Dave. How are you there, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, we do have pretty much a full 24 hours, almost to the minute at the time of the recording right now, Monday afternoon here. A lot to digest. Yeah, we'll get into it, of course, but otherwise, doing well. Finally good to sit down, have my afternoon coffee here, and talk some Juve. So let's break this one down. How
Yeah.
did you feel? How did you feel?
Initially, like when we did the post call in, I was like, I want to say distraught. I was just kind of like, oh. Where it's like, now, do I feel a little bit different? Kind of. I really wanted us to try to go for it, but I understand it in the whole thick of things, right? Where it's like, great, we did, we maintain pace. Inter have to go play Napoli this weekend, and we play Monza. So there's still the doorway to get into first place is there, but it's just, I think for me, it's like I guess you could say there's some bright spots, but there's also just some frustrations, and a lot of the frustrations are still like consistent issues that we've had so far this season, and it's just there's just no step up in a sense, and for me it's just the midfield, right, where it's just there's just there's nothing there right now, unfortunately.
The midfield had been stripped almost completely, right? We're down to Nicky C, Hans. How do you do it?
Hans, you have to do it with the accent, but someone will get mad at me for the accents.
Yeah, so Hans Nicolucci Caviglia getting his first start with Juve. Kind of what was to be expected, but that's where we're at. We're down to Hans. Locatelli did make an appearance, but our midfield, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. You got Rabiot, who, I mean, he hasn't looked great, but he also hasn't stopped playing the whole season either, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, it's like it's different from last season. It's not like contract year Rabiot. This is like a kind of like a slow starting Rabiot.
He
In a
does slow.
sense.
That's him though. He always starts slow, but I mean, I feel he's just entrenched. He is entrenched in that position. Nobody's moving him from there.
No,
doesn't matter who they might bring in January. That's his position. He knows that.
like,
but he also knows that he is going to be playing 90 minutes a game for 38 games, most likely.
Yeah,
barring any injury.
And like, guys, we're not saying that Rabiot's ass or any means like that. It's just more so it's like defensively, I think we've got no complaints. Like as far as his defensive pivot duties, it's just in the attacking third. It's just been kind of lackluster.
There's nothing.
And I'm not saying, I expect Rabiot to get double-digit goals a season and double-digit assists and do something outrageous or outlandish, right? But like even his presence in the opposition's box, it just isn't there right now. Because like back then, if you had loose ball in the box, usually Rabiot's within a step or two by it. Where it's like,
but who does he trust in the midfield?
I know
he is the trust in the midfield, and that's the point, right? Like I wasn't trying to discredit him. I was trying to. We painted the picture that he has other responsibilities. Like Nicolucci's responsibility this match was don't screw up.
Yeah,
and that was it. It was almost like being down a man.
It is, and unfortunately for him, he was technically the lowest rated player we had on. And I'm using FOTMob, folks, so like that's just what I'm using right now. So,
but let's be honest, he was just there. He was filling a void.
Well, the issue that I have with that, right, is okay. Why are you starting him when you don't intend to use him? At that point, you start Locatelli until he can't go anymore, and then you supplement him with Hans.
Maybe
that to me is kind of a loss on Allegri there, because it's like you substituted Hans out in the 61st minute, in my opinion, I think you, by the looks of it, I think you could have gotten 45 out of Locatelli. So you put in Loca, you get him 45, and then you evaluate at halftime, and then it's like, do I need to put in Hans or not? Because that's not a good game for Hans to start in against Inter, right?
Is that a hindsight's 2020? Because
Oh,
maybe
it's
Allegri. No, I'm just throwing devil's advocate here. Maybe Allegri knew how bashed up Loca was. Like he knew it. He's Winston, and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna run with Nicky for as long as we can bear.
I
And I
guess.
think that's what we did.
I
As
mean,
long as we could bear.
ironically, it's the day after, right? But yeah, because like he was there, but they weren't utilizing him as a pivot at all. Like
No,
when
he was just floating. Put me
yeah,
in the back.
when Juve were building, they do the 4-2 build up, but the ball handler is normally Locatelli. It's the defensive midfielder. But in this game, Kostic was the guy that was setting up on the left, and on the right, it was Gatti that was doing it. And Hans is just kind of in the middle, just kind of there in a sense. And it's like, and this isn't me saying like, I'm not bashing Hans because there's to be honest, there's no expectation for him, right? Because he hasn't set a benchmark. He hasn't set a standard to evaluate him on. It's, right now it's like whatever you get that's productive is a win. But you could tell though, I think, and it's weird, right? Because we saw him in the summer and he handled Real Madrid quite well, where it's like you look at him here, he was on the ball too much. Thuram came up from behind him and just picked his pocket in a sense on that play. So it's
Yeah,
like
that was a tough look.
I think, for me, I think it was a misplay by Allegri to start Hans. I think you run with Loca and then you evaluate at halftime, and then if he needs to sub him, you sub him because I just I didn't see anything out of Hans where like it just almost like it didn't look comfortable. And like there wasn't even any Hans is doing really well in training. He might actually be projected to start. It's just like we found out the day of that Hans is starting.
It's just like, yeah. So turns out the other guys aren't gonna make it. So you're up, buddy.
Because when we were
Yeah.
looking at and we didn't report it because I just didn't think that we didn't think it was viable too. But like we saw a bunch of articles saying, oh, Rabiot might start in front of the defense, Miretti might start in front of the defense, blah, 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 right? So like Hans, I'm not bashing him again, making myself clear here,
It
but
was his first game.
it was completely out of left field, right? Like none of us
Yeah,
expected
and you
him to
don't.
come through.
Okay, so I already know the arguments that people are yelling and probably smashing away in the comments, which you should be doing. We love the comments, even though they're usually always in capitals. But that's cool. Get them in there and subscribe where at it as well, please. Thank you. But the arguments that are typically made is why do we wait until these big moments, the Derby d'Italia?
We shouldn't. No, we shouldn't, right? We shouldn't. But
So Monza's next week. Is that a game where Nicky gets maybe another start?
I would say a start or an extended cameo appearance in the second half. Like, I mean, am I wrong here? Because, like, for example, if you're nervous about Monza, you start Locatelli, and then to conserve him, you sub him out for Hans. Like, you can do that. Or, because this is what my issue is with Hans. And this isn't my Hans, per se, Hans. It's more so with Allegri here. If you're not going to get the player the ball or utilize him, if you're just having him be there just to be there, why are you starting him? Because that happened with
in all fairness, let's put a silver lining to this. We only conceded one goal with basically a man down.
Well, I wouldn't say a man down. I wouldn't say that, but
I'm trying to joke here.
That it's true, but like I don't understand that logic from Allegri where it's like great because Hans is sitting there like hell yeah, I get to play in the biggest game of the season so far, and then it's like Allegri's like yeah, you're not gonna contribute to the offensive phase of the ball. You're just gonna stand and man mark Chanalogo or Mkhitaryan. If I'm Hans, I'm kind of like what the fuck, man? Like seriously. That's one of those things where I was just frustrated with. It's just we did this with Marley Ake as well, where we started him against Fiorentina as a right wing back. Everyone was super stoked and excited, and the entire team was like, "Nah, we're not passing you the ball. Sorry, kid." And it's like, why are we playing players on the pitch if we're not giving them the ball? And
It's kind of like me in clubs. Speaking of which, we'll take another interlude here. Please join the Discord. Join our it's not FIFA, it's FC24 clubs. We got quite the team going, pushing Division 1 now. So scan that barcode up there or hit down in the description. There is a link. You can hit that as well. All our socials are down in the description, as well as that subscribe and the like button on the way to the description. Smash all of them. Second interlude over Dash.
all right, so I think the one thing we need to kind of talk about is our center backs. I think Gatti and Rugani were dreadful.
Not the greatest game.
But gotta emphasize this. Dreadful for us means good for other teams, right? Like
it wasn't. Yeah, okay, that's a good context because there was a couple of messy looks. It's Inter. It's the first place team we're playing, right?
Because it's like, for example, if you're looking at it from a different team's perspective, like holy hell, like they missed a bunch of slide tackles and poor movement in general, and they only lost like 1-0. It's like it's a great defensive effort. They only conceded 1, right? But like
it was like Bremer playing with his old team almost.
Yeah, in a sense, because Bremer was actually the shining light as far as the defense goes. But like Rugani with some of these, and I think this is scheme oriented, and it's just couple of those missed tackles. Yes, we'll talk about whether or not Chiesa was fouled or not, but at the end of the day, Rugani pressed really high up to cover that and then missed his tackle entirely. And then Lautaro proceeds to essentially tell Gatti, go back to the brickyard with the movement that he did to get the equalizer there. So it's like...
Get the league's top scorer.
Yeah. My concern, and this is kind of a consistent concern, right? When a high-profile player gets Gatti isolated on a one-on-one, he gets cooked. Like it's like Bonucci getting cooked, and it's ironic because we call Gatti like the newer version of Bonucci in a sense, right? Because like it just kind of concerns me, or sometimes, and he'll develop. He's 26 years old. I'm not burying Federico Gatti here, but like for example, some of his passes, some of his movements, it's just it needs a lot more sharpening. I think
his footballing sense is a little immature.
Yeah, and
not to say he's immature, just like that one aspect is.
And by no means are we saying that these guys are terrible, right? Like this is one of the few misses that you see with Rugani, right? Like out of every double-digit games, you'll have something like this. That's and it's not even classified as a stinker, right? Like Rugani didn't have a howler of a match. Like it wasn't absolutely atrocious. It's not like
he didn't get like an own goal or like do a slide in the box and
like it wasn't like he conceded a stupid penalty or something like that. So it's like by no means are we saying that, but like it seemed a little bit interesting, right? Because it's like Rugani with some missed tackles, and then it's just I love that Gatti goes forward, but sometimes he just kind of like goes forward to go forward, right? With no real like what is he gonna do? Like
again,
without an idea. Sense. Yeah.
I mean, he has improved. He will improve further. But where he's at right now, absolutely, he will leave us exposed in certain moments. And we do see that against big teams that can exploit us. Do we remember Paris?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I mean, that's the most obvious example against, Mbappe. So what do you have expected? But that in a nutshell is what he's capable of at his low points. And Inter was always going to look to exploit a situation like that. Probably even baited Gatti. I wouldn't be surprised if that was in their tactics to try to bait Gatti forward.
I think that's what it was, right? Because like I was telling you, I'm like, look at how Thuram is essentially effectively taking Bremer out of the play. Like he was trying to pull Bremer away from him. Like Inter were doing it to where they were trying to isolate the center backs in the back. Like they were essentially trying to pull them away and keep it where like you force unfavorable matchups, because Lautaro is shiftier than Gatti. Like that matchup, Lautaro beats Gatti 9 out of 10 times. Like it's a fact that it is right now. It's like it's the truth. But it was, they came in with that game plan. I thought it was a solid game plan. I think the one thing, and it kind of coincides with FOTMob, are both teams' wingbacks essentially canceled each other out.
Mhm.
Like there wasn't really anything like Federico DeMarco wasn't menacing, Cambiaso wasn't menacing, Dumfries wasn't really menacing, Kostic wasn't really like it's one of those rare instances that you can say that like the wingbacks of each other's teams cancel each other out.
And
Like
that
no
was
one really had an upper
probably
hand.
yeah, they were probably trying to maybe jostle for position there, but their wing backs probably a little bit more seasoned than ours.
Yeah.
Barring Kostic.
Yeah.
Kostic has
Yeah.
been around for a little bit. Cambiaso a little bit newer. Overall, yeah, I guess. Well, even it showed that they were fairly even on the wing backs. Where
And
the big glaring weakness was for us, clearly, was the midfield as we went over. And, well, we talked about how we got a little sloppy, a little leaky. They essentially did the same thing.
yeah.
And that's what we were looking to do, was exploit that sloppiness.
Yeah. And then the same thing goes for like the midfield battle, right? Where, like, for example, Rabiot canceled out with Mkhitaryan as far as effectiveness goes. Chanalogo and Hans both kind of really similar in regards to productivity. McKennie and Barella as well. Like it was a very like, thinking about it now, like it was really even though like Inter had a bunch of the possession and more passes, they still couldn't figure out a way to penetrate in possession. Like the only time they were really able to do something was like a blitzkrieg counter in a sense. So it's like Juve even offensively, our midfield was poor. However, as far as neutralizing their midfield from really getting a stranglehold, you can chalk that as a W for us.
Making the best with what we have, anyways.
Yeah.
So, again, Allegri, he gets trashed on a little bit. Again, one of the points that we defend him with is this is what he has to work with. And Inter do have the best midfield, in my opinion. Would you agree they have the best midfield in the
I
league?
would say they do. I would say so.
And we effectively neutralize that with
Hans, Rabiot, and
Hans
McKennie.
doing just filling a hole. A non-contract, maybe contract. Yeah, I guess it's still a contract here, Rabiot. And then who's on the right? It was oh man, brain fart. Fill it in. McKennie.
Yeah.
McKennie. Actually, no, he actually did pretty good. He was a bright spot.
Yeah, I thought he did well with defensive coverage. I mean, yeah. Inter's defense, for some reason, they're ranked pretty well on FOTMob. I'm not really sure why, but like kind of going into the one thing I thought was interesting, right, was the goal that Dusan scored, and I watched it. And De Vrij gave him a huge pocket of space. Like De Vrij, I don't know if De Vrij just like lost him, but like you watch the replay, and it's just a huge either they don't respect him as a striker, or that was a misplay on De Vrij's part, because it was a
both probably.
Because it was interesting, because it was almost like a soft zone that they were employing. Like, for example, Darmian was focused on Chiesa because Chiesa was driving in on him. But like De Vrij was looking at Chiesa instead of, because he gave Dusan, I want to say, about a 4 or 5 meter radius around him of just space. So Chiesa finds him, and all Dusan has to do is just literally just tap it in.
So
And I'm saying that. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll let you finish that thought.
Yeah, like he provides him a perfect ball where like Dusan literally just needs to slot it into the net. And I'm saying it as it's something simple, but like for the past couple of weeks, it's been a fun for him to do the simple stuff. But
exactly,
it's good for him. Am I a fan of the celebration he did? No, I think
no.
I think it's really corny, because it's like,
I don't like that.
I don't know. To me, it's a little bit immature, but like it is what it is, because it's like, for me, when you do this to the camera or whoever, saying that, oh yeah, all you guys have been talking all that smack, like, dude, you got to consistently do that to get people to stop. It's just, for me, that's the thing that irritates me about it a little bit. And we can all agree to disagree and whatnot, but that, and then the whole weight of the jersey on your shoulders with him doing that. I don't know. Like, for me, it's like, man, you scored a goal, great, but you still haven't justified your price tag yet. Like, if you
So
continue
Dash
to do that,
doesn't like it.
I
Dash
don't. I
hates
think it's
this, and when
corny.
Dash hates something, he will go on a soapbox about
I think it's corny.
it.
That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's a little bit
Okay.
corny.
I want to know what everyone else thinks because this is a contentious topic. So get in the comments. Let us know what you feel of the celebration. Is it warranted? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you not care? Are you a fanboy? Have you gotten off the wagon, if you will? Where are you? Let us know where you are on this. Personally, I as well am not happy with that celebration because he's going to people like us who have tried to support him and it's been hard and we've criticized him in recent months. Really, it's been 71 days since his last goal, so over 2 months.
Yeah.
And he's basically telling us like, shut up, bro, I just got one. And it's like, cool, I'm happy for you, but do it again.
Do it again 20 more times.
Yeah, like just what once. It's just like, oh babe, I only cheated on you once. It's like, no, man.
Because it's almost, and it's like, for example, the positioning of him, right? Because I think he did it in front of our curva too.
Yeah.
So
No,
like,
it was a cocky ass move.
I think he did that in front of our own like I understand if you do it in front of Inter's fans, cool. I'm cool with it. Like, I get that. But like,
Yeah.
that's why I find it very corny because he did that same celebration when he got essentially that own goal with Courtois and the Real Madrid friendly. Like, he did the same thing again, and it's like, I'm like, if there's only certain players that can do celebrations like that, and that's usually they're doing it towards the opposition fans, not your own fans. So
And
it's like,
unless there's like some huge drama in the club going on, I wouldn't chalk this up to huge drama. Maybe in his world, this is what constitutes this huge drama, but in his world, scoring should be what he does first and foremost.
yeah,
Because that's what he's getting paid millions of dollars to do. Straight up. Like I hate to like dehumanize it, but at the end of the day, yeah, when you want to be cocky about it, it's one of those things like put words into actions, essentially.
yeah, and that's all I ask. I mean, did he have a good game? Yeah, absolutely. I thought the first half he was terrific, winning
Yeah,
the
and
ball,
it
being
was
attentive
great
to
to
it.
finally see it.
Yeah,
We
it's there, right? Like, we're
it's not like we want ill to happen to this man.
the issue was he set the bar so damn low to the point where, like, him doing any fundamentals of his position was a win, and that's what yesterday was. Trying to be first to the ball, holding up pressure. Did he make some boneheaded decisions like he always does? Absolutely. But there was more attentiveness. There was more getting into it, being part of the play, starting a play and finishing his play for once. Like, that's what his goal was. He finished the play that he started, won the ball in the middle of the pitch, went up, scored. So,
It
like,
was a bit more dynamic. Maybe he learned some lessons from Keane, watching Keane play a
maybe.
little bit from the bench.
So, like, I said it yesterday and I said it the day before, if Dusan starts, he needs to score. He did. I'm happy for him to do that. But now it's like, I need you to do it again and again and again and again. And my biggest advice for him is just focus on your fundamentals and focus on your game. Doing this and the whole
It's
I
distracting.
I'm old. I'm old school. I'm not cool with that because it's like, if you're a baller, you don't need to give a fuck about what two guys behind a camera and microphones say or a crowd of people say. If you're a good player, you're a good player. Believe in yourself and do what you know that you need to do. And I'm saying this more as like kind of a senior to him because he is 22 years old. He's a kid. He's a youngster. This is me from my trials and tribulations as an adult, and I've got more experience than that dude on this planet. So it's like, I might not be a professional
You
footballer, but
definitely sound like an old dude.
yeah, but from the mental aspect of it, I think I'm justified to say it. But focus on your game, bro. That's the biggest thing. I'm not your greatest supporter because you have made me look like an idiot for supporting you at some points. So now you gotta stick your nose to the ground and grind this out and make me look like an idiot, because I will be happy to say that I was wrong. But right
Dash
now,
usually makes
get it.
himself look like an idiot. This is the first time that somebody else is making him look like an idiot. He's kind of upset that you're taking the limelight away from
I know. I need my spotlight.
him. So Doosan's back on the score sheet. He starts next week.
He should, right? You
Yeah,
play the
I
hot
think
hand.
so.
We
I think so.
got to play the hot hand. Like, unfortunately, unless Keane does something in training, or he comes in and subs in and gets a goal or something, no, I think Dusan has earned that right with the game against Inter. Though I
Yeah.
do think him and Chiesa both switched off in the second half. I'm not really sure why.
Oh,
but
everything switched off in a second.
yeah,
Except Locatelli when he came on. He
I
switched the fuck on.
I do think, though, from Chiesa is I need decisiveness in your shots,
Mm-hmm.
or
We
like a
saw it. We
clear.
saw it with Italy. Like that's what I don't understand is he has similar. Well, what he scored in Italy, it wasn't too different of a situation where he was like
Yeah.
central, a curling shot, top left corner. I
Well,
mean,
in Italy, he didn't have time or space. In this game, he did, but
too
he
much
just
of it.
absolutely shanked it wide left.
Mm-hmm. It would be really nice to see him drain a couple of those.
Yeah, Chiesa to become that upper echelon, like that legit. I'm not saying he's not world class, but him to be on that top pedestal, because, like, for example, Mbappe scores that goal every single time. Haaland scores that goal every single time. Like, when you start looking at that upper echelon of great players, you make those. I'm pretty sure Dusan would have scored that, despite us not being his biggest fan right now. The positioning and where he is, I think Dusan scores that.
Mm.
Oh, but then Chiesa's a winger. It doesn't matter. You're a winger. You have to score goals. You either assist or you score. You have to be pertinent in both of those.
Well, the whole point is that he scored those goals a few days prior for Italy.
Exactly.
So
Outside the box shots. He hit
yeah,
those.
they were further out. And that's what I
Yeah.
joked during the watch alongs. Like, no, he was too close to the net. He can't score those.
Yeah, it's silly Chiesa. Back up another 18 yards. But like, for me, it was another, for him, outside of like the missed shot and then the pass to Dusan. For me, he just hugs that left side way too damn much.
He just wants to be a left winger, and he played a left winger for years, essentially. Gets locked into this 3-5-2, goes back to Italy, plays as a winger, scores a couple goals, and then I think he's just back in his head. It's like, I'm a winger.
Yeah, but even then, he doesn't really shoot. And if he does, it's not really the best shots.
Yeah. But that goes back to your decisiveness, and maybe that's like he's got physically more confident with his running and his change of direction. And yeah, sometimes he looks a little hurt, but I think he's just playing it up because that's who he is. Like he's gotten that aspect this season. He just needs to bring back that killer instinct.
Yeah, because, like, I'm confused, right? Where everyone's like, oh, Chiesa flourishes on the wing. He has to stay on the wing. Kylian Mbappe started as a winger, went to a center forward, back as a winger, back to a center forward. They have that flexibility. Raspadori at Napoli can play left wing, right wing, center forward. For me, it's like, I don't understand. Like, for example, Chiesa was a left wing back prior to his coming at Juve. And then he got thrown as a right midfield with Pirlo. That's where, like, Chiesa popped off as a right midfielder, mind you guys, not even a right winger. And then he goes to Italy and he plays a couple of games in the Euro as a left winger. I think he filled in as a right winger at one point, but alternating on the wings, and that just kind of continued his streak. So it's like, Chiesa is essentially Chiesa's a wild card in a sense where you can play him anywhere. But I think there's a couple of more steps that I think Chiesa needs to take in his head to really get, and I think Chiesa needs that killer blow. Because, like, I've seen him cut in and take shots outside the box with his left foot and score them and get close to scoring them. So that's why, for me, it was a little bit frustrating to see him miss that shot.
So let's flip the script then on Chiesa and talk a little bit about that Inter goal. Now,
perfect
people, yeah, I mean, it was almost like our goal, the evenness of this game, right? On many different levels. But the reason why I mentioned Chiesa, he was the one that was basically stripped of the ball, hauled down. Some say it was a foul. It's controversial. Actually, I do have a little clip. So if you're watching and not listening, if you are just listening, I'll give you time to pull it out in traffic and hopefully not kill yourself.
Whip it out.
Ooh, whip it out, baby. Here it is. So people thought that the elbow went up into the face. That's killing me. I don't know where I saw this picture. It was not in the face. It was down in the arm area. I never thought it was a foul in the first place. This is only something I heard of in, I guess, the Twitterverse, the dark corners of the internet.
I think so. Like for me personally, I don't like having. For me, it's an ego thing. I don't like having our games being decided by half calls like this. But my issue that I have with this is consistency from referee officiating. Right. So like if that happens to Chiesa and it's a no call, then that means when someone does it to Barella and it's called, I'm kind of like, well, what's the benchmark? What's the threshold here? Because in my opinion, and people are going to hate me for this, Chiesa got bodied. Like from the images that I've seen, that video there, and as well as the images, he got bodied.
It was a physical game.
It's a physical
and Inter was
game.
always going to be doing that.
Because, like, Dave, you can pull it up again. His leg wasn't obstructing Chiesa. He flat out... It's a shoulder tuck. I do that personally. I do that myself when I'm playing. When I'm playing against a lighter, speedier guy, I do that. I put my shoulder into him, and that's it. So, like, the thing for it to be a foul is if my hands start here, and I do this and make contact with your body. So,
like what Gotti did earlier in the match.
Yeah. So, like, for example, when my hands halfway of rotation touch you and then follow through, that's a push. That's a foul. But if I'm going in, if I'm reaching in like that, and it's like shoulder, I'm shielding the ball. That's technically not a foul. And if you want to call it a foul, it's a soft foul or it's a 50-50 foul up to the officiating jurisdiction. I think
And that wasn't the only thing either. Like if we're just gonna look at the Chiesa piece of that being a foul or not, we already mentioned it. How basically the whole defensive line just like yeeted it and gave up on that play in different aspects, right?
Three mistakes. So, like, for example, Chiesa, and if you're looking at the video again, like, Chiesa makes a really bad decision on the dribble that he does there, right? Not the... Because if he waited a little bit long... Oops, sorry. I'll just... Longer, he has Rabiot to his left in miles of space. And that's one of those things where that's my biggest criticism of Chiesa's game is sometimes he just puts his head down and just runs where it's like, dude, take a minute, relax, observe your surroundings, because look at the clip again. Look where he's running in. There's 4 Inter players to his right, whereas like hold up the ball a little bit, look around you, and then adjust. So that, in my opinion, if he, hindsight again, because we're doing this the day after, but if he holds it, does a little bit of hold up play with Rabiot surging forward, Rabiot has a run right into the box, easy. So I don't think it's a foul, but again, it depends on how the referee is as far as consistency goes. If he calls it a foul for the opposing team for doing the same action, then I kind of have an issue with it, right? Or if that's not the case, then, guys, it's 50-50.
Like, asking Dash if this was a foul turned into Chiesa's a bitch and he got bodied off the ball. So no. Summarize,
Chiesa should be smarter, hold the ball up, and understand where he is. Because why would you lower your head down and dribble into 4 Inter players?
That's what Chiesa does.
Yeah, but that's the difference between an all-time great and a guy that has some sauce.
Yeah. So that was that. That's a pretty evenly matched game. People thought that perhaps they were going for the draw and nobody had that killer instinct. And they were
for the biscotti.
Yeah. So, and we'll kill this segment on I guess this little thought. Did they concede the draw? Was that the smart move? Are we just emotional at fans expecting them to go all out for the win in this situation? Because personally, I think when you take a very wide angle, that strategic view from both coaches' perspective, the draw is perfectly acceptable. It's a calculated risk. And if you won, it would have been great. But the risk of that didn't outweigh, like the reward didn't outweigh the risk in that situation.
So bring it in. So we'll bring it into both coaches' perspectives. Let's talk with Inzaghi first. So for Inzaghi, Champions League match day this week, midweek, as well as going into hostile territory because guys, I don't know if anyone told you, but the ultras are back. If you did not see all those banners, all that, like it
Yeah,
is
that's a good point. That's very hostile for them.
It is extremely hostile, and their back was towards them that first half of the game too. So that is no walk in the park, especially now that they can chant, they can do their thing, and
we have a
Go
bit of video, don't we? Do we have some of that?
Kev put some videos of it on Instagram, on the Instagram page for us. So.
Yeah. So we got some inside look at that. So check that out on the Instagram.
So it's there. Like, it's a pretty hostile environment. And then also for Inzaghi, if I lose my top spot in the table, and I have to go play Napoli next week. So then he could have ended up being down 5 points if they lost to us and they lost to Napoli. So for Inzaghi, the draw was the objective, not to lose, I think, was Inzaghi's mindset. And then if we look
he's
at
still
it
in
back,
first.
He's still in first place above 2 points. So if I'm Allegri, I don't want to lose this game. So losing it is obviously out of the table because you fall behind. Confidence, morale, because you get beat by your rival at home, it kind of fucks with you a little bit. Whereas I think with Allegri, I don't think, and this might be unpopular, but I don't think Allegri really was like, if I win, fuck it, awesome, I'll take it. But in reality, I need to get through this fixture with the players that I have at my disposal. I don't have Locatelli, he's out. I have to start Hans. I have to start McKennie. I have to start Kostic and Cambiaso on the edge. I still don't have Danilo. And games like this show you why you need Danilo in your lineup.
He didn't know what his strikers were going to do.
Yeah, he has he has one $85 million striker that can't find the back of the net for 71 days, right? And then you have another one that, he looked like he did well with Italy. We'll see how it translates here. So for him, there's a lot of question marks. And for him, it's more so, can I put these guys in a situation to where I know that we'll get a point, but we're not going to lose anything? So, like, for him, I think he was trying to set up with the threshold of getting a draw with the potential for going forward because they attacked. They went for it in the first half.
It's only the 13th game.
Yeah. Contrary to a lot of Allegri naysayers' beliefs, they went for it. They tried to win that game. But with Inter pushing back as fast as they did, they're kind of like, okay. He's like, I need to temper it down a little bit here. I don't want to let this get out of control. You can agree with that, and you can't agree with that, or not agree with it. But think of it this way:
you can agree with it, or you can freaking agree with it. Damn it!
Exactly, agree with it. I remind you, Inter play Napoli next weekend, and Juve play Monza. So you draw here, you win there, and they lose that. You're already on top of the table by 1 point. So
it's
not
it's
the
tight.
best,
it's
not the
still
worst.
So tight. Still only 2 points. That's the whole thing is 2 points.
I think
that's one good weekend.
I think the one thing that Juventini need to understand is that Inter respected you that game. Inzaghi and Inter respected you that game.
And we have to mention on Wednesday, Inter are in Portugal facing Benfica. And we know, even though they're not having the greatest season, Benfica, man, like, good luck.
Exactly.
Just good luck. It's going to be hard.
That is a sign that they are afraid of you, because this was one of those games where Inter did not do what they normally do against Serie A sides. So
yeah. Now, that being said, Inter do have 10 points. They don't need to win this game
against Benfica.
Yeah, they don't, but they do need to rotate.
They need to rotate, and they need to also win the group so they don't get Real Madrid or Man City in the next round.
Yeah, so they are tied with Real Sociedad currently, just back goal differential. So yeah, I mean, it still means something to them, but
It does.
I didn't want to blow it out of proportion either. Like, it's not the biggest game.
No. But it's a testament, right? I mean, like I said yesterday in the call-in show, and I still said it today. I wasn't really terrified that we were going to get like they were going to score on us.
Yeah,
Like that goal that they hit us, we're just kind of like, what the hell? Oh shit! It just happened.
yeah. I mean, that's the
So
counterattack style.
defensively, we held up good. No, I'm not really concerned. And like I said, some really abysmal plays. Yeah, it was still a solid thing, solid play.
So to wrap up then just the match before we go into a couple rumors. Not the most exciting weekend, let's say, but what was expected and what allows us to continue to go forward and mount this attack against Inter. I guess indirectly, right? The indirect approach to Inter is not through the head-to-head matchup, but by grinding out week after week. You're still only 2 points back.
yeah.
I mean, Monza's next. Let's go. Do you have any different sentiments on that?
Nope. Just eat your vitamins, drink your milk, and beat your Monzas. That's all you got to do.
All right. Beautiful. Now, this is a bit of discussion that is starting to pick up. It's November 27th. I guess I'm a little early. I said I'd wait till December to start doing the transfer talk, but a couple days early. Regardless, Berardi, damn it, he won't go away. Apparently, he's a priority target, according to multiple sources. I mean, sources with the quotes, right? Regardless, let's have the discussion. Is this a legit January target? Domenico Berardi.
I don't know. I mean, if you were trying to go and push for the title, then yes, I think it is. In all honesty, I think we're getting to the point where I think Juve need to start considering a switch to a 3-4-3 because they're short in the midfield department. Because the 3-4-3, you use less bodies in the midfield, and I really think that you need a creative outlet on the top outside of Chiesa and Dusan. And I don't think, and with all due respect, I don't find Chiesa as a very creative outlet for other players. Essentially, what you have with Chiesa and Dusan is you have two guys that are trying to go in and score, where I think Berardi is that guy that can set the table for both of them.
The unselfish one.
Yeah, and I think Berardi can actually essentially spread out the defense in a sense because, like, for example, this game, they stacked the entire left side for Chiesa to stop Chiesa, whereas if you have Chiesa and Berardi on the same pitch at the same time, you have different looks, and then you have pockets of space where Dusan can score his tap-ins. And
it creates a lot of extra width up top. I understand you're taking away from the mid, the width there a bit.
The only question that you would have is how solid will your defense be in a 3-4-3 because you don't have that additional midfield.
Yeah. And Loca does a lot of work dropping up back in to that defensive line.
Because essentially Loca and Rabiot play as pivots. In theory, they can play as pivots, and I think that's where you'll get more out of Locatelli. And I think having McKennie as a right wing back in that system, I think it actually helps you guys a lot because he can interchange as a midfielder. He can interchange as a midfielder and interchange as a right wing back. So I think that would actually give you a little bit more versatility, more adjustments. And then Kostic and Cambiaso as well. You have that versatility there where you can switch them in and out with each other. I think, look, and that's if we go for it. If we go for Berardi, then you know that the 3-4-3 is coming. I think it's only a matter of time before it does, just because of the personnel that's there. But I don't know. I really think that with the current shortage that we have with midfield players, I think the 3-4-3 is something that needs to be considered. And you'll have your indicator if Berardi comes to Juve that that's what they're going with, because there's no way in hell they're bringing Berardi to play in a 3-5-2.
So in that sense, we are unwilling to invest a large sum in a midfielder in January. We probably would get a profile. And this is where I get hung up on Berardi. If we put that many resources into getting Berardi, who is also an older profile, that doesn't necessarily fit into the philosophy of building young. Understand you need a couple of veterans, and typically when you need one more piece to slot in,
You need
it's typically an older dude.
you
And
need
I mean, he's not that old.
no, he's not. You need a contributing veteran player. Like, you need an older dude that is consistently contributing, because he's there to mentor, develop, and assist the younger guys. Like, you need that guy where he's able to help assist. And because right now, Kiesa's the oldest guy on the offense outside of Milik.
Mm-hmm.
And like, is Milik really consistently contributing? No, Milik.
No, he's a bench player.
Yeah, he's a bench
He's not
player.
starting
He's a super
11.
sub. So, like, when you have a Berardi who, when you play him, teams have to cover for him. They need to adjust. They need to learn how to deal with them. And the other reason why I think they need to start considering switching to a 3-4-3 is because one guy that's been killing it, and his name is Sule. So
that's a next year prospect.
Exactly. So maybe they don't want to get Berardi because they want to switch it and bring in Sule next season. I can understand that, but with the current shape of how the midfield is, it would not be a bad idea. But I think we'll have our answer if Domenico Berardi is the target.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent perspective. I never thought of that. Again, asking Dash if Berardi's a real target goes into a tactical breakdown of the 3-4-3. the dash mind.
That's why I don't get paid. No.
No, it's great because I mean, such a great perspective. I'm just looking at it from this guy's 29. Just looked it up. So 29. Not really fitting into the project per se in terms of age. Not into the current system. Is he a Juve player? Does he take that step? There's questions. There's a lot of questions as well, coupled with the fact that we need a midfielder, and I'm kind of set on spending like 40 plus million on Marcus Thuram because I'm living in some sort of utopia currently. I don't know. I'm not bought into Berardi personally.
Kefren Thuram?
Did I say Marcus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said Marcus. Kefren Thuram.
Like, I don't know if that'll work, but
probably not. That one's not going to work out. No Marcus for us. It's Kefren. My bad. I have to screw up once in a while for Dash to feel good about correcting me. So Dash gets a win.
Finally.
All right. So again, comments, guys. Let us know what your take is on Berardi. I don't know why specifically Berardi. It triggered me today. So we had to talk about it. But we are gonna finish this one off on kind of a doubleheader. Some big news that's been rolling out today. I just got another notification not too long ago about it as well. Everyone's talking about it. First, I'm going to start off with an article. Ivan Zazzaroni, director of Corriere dello Sport. This is during the show Pressing. So this is a quote from him. Allegri would like to leave at the end of the season. There are no conditions to stay. He will take the money and end the broadcast. It's normal that it would end like that. He is part of a Juventus that no longer exists. He is doing a great job with a reduced group. He should reach the top 4. If he does more, he would create more regrets later, but this is a secondary problem. Max is struggling to find himself in a different Juventus than in football. Many things may not occur. If I had to make a large bet, it would be on him leaving. Resignations, there are many ways to separate. So, again, Corriere dello Sport. But that's coming just before rumors piling on of Conte returning. So we have on one hand, Allegri's leaving at the end of the season. And now we have these rumors 24-25, Conte's got the job.
That makes no sense to me. The only way that Allegri leaves is if he says, okay, I've taken these guys as far as I can. I can't do this. Like, I can't anymore. That's it. And for me, why would you bring essentially another Allegri but a worse European record? So, like for example, you bring in Conte, and then what? He's not going to stay there for 5 years.
No.
He's not going to.
Three tops. You're lucky we got him for 2.
Yeah, you're lucky if you get him for 2 before he starts whining about something. And I don't think Gentili and Conte are a good mix per se,
Mm.
because Conte wants veteran players, experienced or older players, right? So it's like, yeah, he can win you the league with Matri and Vucinic and whatnot, but you can't expect Conte to play youngsters. Conte never really does that, right? Like there's rare instances where, oh my gosh, Conte's played this younger player. Like you look at when he was with Italy, he brought in Granzinano Pele from China to play as their striker, and he was like 34, 35 years old. So it's like I I don't understand that move if that's actually true. It doesn't make sense because okay, great. You bring in Conte to win a Scudetto or 2, and then what? Crash out of the group stages in Europe like he always does? Like,
Are
well,
we a continental team? What does management think? I know what
y
the fans think.
no, so the issue isn't about are we continental or are we not, because, like, for example, his record in the group stages is atrocious, and,
Yeah,
like, the
we
more
know that, but what I'm saying is, does the management care?
well, then, I don't know. That to me isn't that's gonna be a question for them, because the more group stage matches you win, the more money you receive, and the more goals you score, the more money you receive. So it's like, for me, unless you're hoping that you can get a Zidane in 26 or in 27, then that's really the only time you bring in Conte. Because in my opinion, Conte to me is a transitional coach.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at it from a larger scale, if you're looking at it for the Scudetto, no, he works. He works for that, but if you're trying to go a step further and you're trying to go for the Champions League, or you're trying to go for that honor, he's a transitional piece. He might, get your players physically conditioned to play a system, get them ready to go, and then you just take, like for example, Simone Inzaghi with Inter right now. Like Conte laid down the foundations and the framework for that, and he was able to make some tweaks, some adjustments, and go to a Champions League final with that. Like that's kind of what Conte is. He's the table setter. I don't think he's ever the finisher in a sense. So, like for me,
Conte doesn't finish.
yeah, he doesn't. It depends on what the objectives is, right? Like if they're like, hey, let's try to organize something, let's try to build something straightforward, and then we'll transition this off to someone else. That's the only thing I can see him working for. But as far as like a long term till 2028, hell no. I don't think it makes sense.
And I forgot to mention the source. Eladio Radio.
Who?
Eladio is Italian for Hillary. So I don't know. It's okay, yes. I also saw this name, Eladio di Giovanbattista. So that is that's the person. I'm looking up their Instagram as we speak.
Never heard of this person saying anything, so
Yeah, so I mean that's the source we're talking about. We're losing our mind over with Conte right now. So again, this is a very hypothetical situation. My biggest concern before even talking about Conte is what are the conditions for Allegri to leave? Has he, according to Eladio, and I have it here. Here's his page. I mean, he's just an Italian dude. I don't know what to say. I thought Eladio was Hillary, but it's a dude. Maybe I'm wrong with that. But anyways, my dad's hometown is Sant'Elario, so I don't know. Maybe my dad's a liar. So I don't think Allegri's necessarily set on just leaving. He's 2 points off for what if he wins the Scudetto? Why would he leave? He won the Scudetto with a broken ass team.
Unless he said, like I said, the only way he leaves if he says himself, like I'm out, I'm done.
Unless he's just like emotionally divested at this point. It's like I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I need to go live in Livorno for a couple years, just sip on some of my wine and chill out for a little bit, I understand that because people get to that point and they're done. But barring that and barring an embarrassing collapse, which is honestly kind of hard to see, like they're more at this point looking like they're pushing for a first place finish than they are settling for a fourth. So I don't know. It's a long season. I think it's just way too early at this point to even say Allegri is out of the picture next season, barring that one caveat I said. Now, in terms of Conte, again, going back to the Berardi thing, is this in line with our project? Whether you like the man, you don't like the man, is he in line with the current project? And I would say no. I just in no sense does it make any sense, right? He's washed up. We don't want to bring in the old guys already. We've talked about this, fresh start, go with new approach, a younger look. Conte's a goddamn ticking time bomb. It's just seconds away from him just like blowing up on a press conference and completely ruining everything you just put together.
Yeah, it's not a long-term option. I think it's just if you're trying to do something quick flip, that's the only thing I can think of because he's not going to be cheap.
Oh, and that's the other thing. He's not going to be cheap. He's super expensive. Napoli can't afford him. We know that.
Nobody in Serie A besides us and Inter could afford him.
And that's about it. So that's another piece. On a again, to so many different levels, it doesn't really make sense. Now, that being said, what I think would be amazing if he did come back for a year or two from a content creator's perspective, absolutely. It would be amazing. Would have all sorts of fun.
Oh, yeah. His press conferences would be way more entertaining.
We wouldn't have to be sitting here on a Saturday afternoon being like, so he basically just stroked the other team off, told a couple of reporters the same old political line and just like shoot me in the dick because that happened every week. Because that's Allegri. Conte, it'd be like, oh man, it's 9:30 on a Saturday morning. There's a press conference I need to attend. But would that get Juve to a position where we want them in a long-term project? I think not.
Yeah, I don't. Nah, it's a hard sell for me.
Let us know what you guys think as well down in the comments. It's I don't know. I want to say a silly rumor, but an interesting one.
It always Juve getting linked with Conte now is every week at this point.
It was the timing of the two different articles of the one Allegri leaving and the one with Conte coming.
Yeah, I think they all just kind of fell out at the same time, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's smoke, there's fire."
Yeah, which is not true. Why do people say that?
No, not at all.
Jesus, must be city people. Never started a fire before. Anyways, that was a solid one. The day after. I hope you guys like it. We're gonna try to. We're always trying new formats, if you will, right? So yeah. This is essentially a podcast without calling it a podcast.
Pretty much. Poor man's podcast. Walmart podcast.
Costs us the same amount to produce it.
No, they do. They do.
Oh man. Yeah, so that was fun. Let us know what you guys think about it as well. If you like this, just coming back. We don't want to do this one live. We love the lives. We love interacting with you, but a lot of distractions, a lot of things coming in, and it's hard to have just a concentrated conversation. I mean, there's no concentration when it's live.
Because
it's just like
we're like squirrel, because we're always trying to read the comments, keep up with the comments, and then like the comments sidebar us, and then next thing later, we've been streaming for 3 hours.
Pretty much, yeah. So this is just the day after. Have a coffee. Let's just slow it down and have a
little espresso.
Yeah, I went for the cappuccino today. I know it was a little late in the day, but I didn't have my second coffee, and man, it's delicious.
Oh, I bet.
Well, on that note, just the week ahead now. Friday match. 2 Friday matches in a row.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to come in with a pregame on Thursday evening. And then festivities on Friday, of course. I do see in the Discord already, just moments ago, the boys are organizing the clubs tonight. They're getting ready. It's about a couple hours till kickoff now. So if you want part of that, everyone's welcome. Consistently, like 4 or 5 guys a night going at it. If not, I mean, there was a lineup the other night. Now we're starting to line up. So this is great. Get in. Doesn't cost you anything. I'll cost you the cost of the game. Buy the game. It's on sale right now. Buy the game. Join the Discord.
Like $20 or something.
Yeah, 30, it's 30 something, I think, Canadian. Those communist dollars. It's fine. We get paid more than you and get healthcare. And then they just take it all away to pay for the healthcare. So it makes no difference. My one little political jab for the day. Dash, I mean, you need to. You kill these. I'm rambling now.
All right, that's fine. I'll do it. But hey, everyone, every folks, every cats, every dogs, thanks for tuning in on the day after. And make sure you like it. Just to give you some housekeeping notes, we did get video of Kevin's new camera and microphone sets. Shout outs to Colin. So that'll get released this week as well. Obviously, you'll have us with some shenanigans of pre and post games and all the other jazz and some more stuff, pro club stuff too, if you guys want to dabble on that. But